What if you could pay someone to take on your sins, guaranteeing your soul a safe trip to the afterlife? It sounds crazy, but for centuries it was a real practice. For just a few pennies and a piece of bread, there were men who would do exactly that. They were called sin-eaters, and their story is one of the strangest and most tragic in all of folklore. Now, many sin-eaters may have identified as Christians culturally, but their practices diverged from orthodox Christian beliefs. Overall, sin-eating reflects a blend of local customs and beliefs rather than a strictly Christian doctrine. The story of the sin-eater really enters the historical record in the villages of 17th century Britain, especially in Wales and the surrounding English counties. Almost always a man, hired to perform a ritual that would absorb the sins of someone who had just died, allowing their soul to enter heaven, clean and unburdened. So who were these people, and why did this grim custom even exist? In the villages of England, Wales and Scotland, the fear of dying with unconfessed sins was a terrifying prospect. After the Protestant Reformation, official Catholic rituals like last rites were often unavailable or forbidden, which left a spiritual void for people terrified of eternal damnation. Out of this deep-seated anxiety, a folk solution took hold, one the church officially condemned, but that communities quietly continued. When a person died without a final confession, the sin-eater was called. Family members would place a crust of bread on the chest or face of the corpse, along with a bowl of ale. The idea was that the food and drink would literally absorb the lingering sins of the departed soul. The sin-eater, often sitting on a stool and always facing the door, would then eat the bread and drink the ale, taking that spiritual weight onto himself. The details could change from place to place. Sometimes it was cheese or even a baked potato. For this service, he'd get a tiny payment, sometimes just a few pence, and then he would be sent away and cast out. To become a sin-eater was to accept a life of total crushing isolation. These were usually the poorest of the poor, beggars and outcasts, who took on the role out of sheer necessity. The same communities that relied on their services also shunned them, viewing them as walking vessels of evil. People would avoid looking them in the eye, believing it would bring bad luck. The practice of sin-eating gradually faded, and by the early 1900s, it was condemned as mere superstition. The last known sin-eater in England was a man named Richard Munslow, who died in 1906. He was a respected farmer. It's believed he revived the old custom out of profound grief after losing 3 of his children to scarlet fever in a single week. In a strange turn of fate, the community raised £1,000 in 2010 to restore his grave, giving the man who ate sins a final measure of peace and respect in death. The sin-eater was a walking paradox, a figure of immense spiritual importance who was treated like a leper. They were the living embodiment of a community's deepest fears about death and whatever comes next. Their forgotten story is a powerful reminder of the extraordinary lengths people will go to find peace for their dead, and the profound human need for closure. If you enjoy digging into the strange and forgotten corners of Christian history, make sure you subscribe for more tales that time forgot.